Hi guys. So at the end of every 2-week training day camp, I like to create a video for clients so that they have a really in-depth video tutorial and something that you can play over and over again where I demonstrate how you can build on the foundation that I've been working on to give Bean some really good basic obedience. So in these 10 days, we have created a foundation of understanding for the leave it command, the place command, the downstay, the wait command, leash manners, and recall, come when called. That's a lot to cover in 10 days, a lot to cover. But Bean is rocking it, and he is showing us how smart he is. He also is showing us how stubborn he can be, how he can act at any given moment like he's never heard the word before. That is part of his charm. So, what I want to do with this section of the video, this is the introduction. I want to share with you the basics, the fundamental things that I think every dog owner needs to know. And these things are going to make the training and the development process easier, and generally your life altogether easier with Boone and every other dog. How to communicate with a dog in a meaningful way beyond just words and commands. So this is it. The main thing I want everybody to master is the language of dogs, and that is spatial pressure. You hear me refer to it. I showed it to you on several videos, but let me just summarize it and be clear. You have the dog, you have the human. You walk into the dog's space. Sometimes you bump them. Sometimes you don't have to bump them. Other times you may just have to lean in at them or even use your hands. This is spatial pressure. If your body moves toward the dog, that is spatial pressure. So depending on the situation, how much excitement there is or distraction or how high value the thing that Bean wants is, it would be very different backing him up from a dog toy than it would backing him up from a new human. The new human's a lot of excitement. The new human's talking to him. So it depends on the situation. You may just have to move toward him and he backs up. You may just have to lean and he backs up a little bit. Or you may have to bump right into him and back him up. Sometimes you might have to play goalie at first, moving to the left and the right to block him. But ultimately you got to get him to move backwards. Do you need to move him backwards 6 inches or 6 feet? It depends on the situation. The further back you move him, the calmer he is likely to be. Now, do you want to have to sweat backing him up 6, 10, 15 feet all the time? Absolutely not. There are times where if you just back him up 6 inches, it's perfectly fine, and it's a lot easier for you. But that is, you will develop experience with him, and you will start figuring out what each situation demands. But if you use spatial pressure, not just when you're practicing training, but every element of your life, it will be so much easier because spatial pressure is his language. It gives him clarity about what it is you want. Now, the 2 commands that most easily illustrate this are the wait command and the leave it command. And in both of those videos, and you're going to see it again in this instructional video, you see me, here's Boone, here's me, I put something on the floor and I say, leave it, and I back him up, and then I move around. But what I'm saying to him is, do you hear me? I'm speaking your language. And then secondly, here's the next thing, distance. Distance in the brain of a dog means respect. This is not about dominance and alpha, forget about that. It's about direction and clarity. But when you say to a dog, give it distance, respect it, it's mine, you're claiming it. You're asserting yourself as a leader. So when the dog backs up, first of all, the dog has even more clarity now, but secondly, the dog's brain starts to relax. So you are not only speaking in terms of spatial pressure, you are using spatial pressure to say, back up, back away from the person or the thing or the door or whatever it is, back away. The further back, the calmer. So use that any chance you get. It could be to tell Boone not to jump on somebody. Here he comes running. He's going to come see a human. We know he's going to jump. So before he gets to the human, leave it, You can say it or that human can say it. Early intervention. Somebody drops something on the floor that's really interesting, a sock, a paper product, or whatever. It hits the floor. Here he comes. Leave it. Or you can use leave it after he picks it up. There's a whole section on leave it. But the point is that if you can give him a command when there's still distance, and if you can require more distance, you're going to have a much easier time, and he's going to understand much better what it is you want. So you got your spatial pressure, you got your distance, and now let's add one more thing. I talked about dogs having clarity. The best way for dogs to get clarity is for the human to be clear. So when I say to a dog, back away from the thing, back up, I always pick a point randomly. It could be the corner of a table. It could be my cell phone sitting somewhere. It could be a throw pillow. It doesn't matter. The idea is that I pick something, a point on the floor, a point on the furniture, a point on the wall, and that point is my barrier. It's like my invisible barrier. That's the point that I do not want Boone to cross, right? So here's my ring. Here's my ring, and it's sitting on a table. Here comes Boone. Just before Boone gets to my marker, I will say, leave it, or wait, or whatever the command is that I need. So that what he starts to understand, it's almost like an invisible fence. If I didn't have this marker sitting somewhere on a table, right, and I didn't have a specific point that was my boundary, then my energy would be unsure. My brain would be unsure. Is he too close? Should I back him up? What should I do? But if I have a marker, I automatically, I'm like, back it up, back it up. The minute he gets near my marker. So that creates clarity in my brain. That creates clarity in my energy, which gives him complete clarity. Okay? So we're using spatial pressure as the language. We're using distance as the boundary. And we're picking our own markers. And that marker can change from second to second. Let's say that he's over here. I pick a marker. But then what if he moves over here? Then I just pick another marker. Or what if he's constantly challenging my marker? I'm going to back him up further and pick a new marker that's further back. If you shift, if your focus shifts from one point to the next, he will follow you. He will pick up on it. So spatial pressure, distance, pick your marker. What's your boundary? What's your limit? That's as close as he's allowed to get. And then the next set of fundamentals. This is about when you're practicing. First thing is, short spurts of practice are the best thing to do. 5-10 minutes max. You always want to end on a good note, so, whatever it requires to get there. But you do not want to hunker down for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, God forbid an hour, trying to work on commands. It's too much. You quickly reach a point of diminishing return. The one exception is if you're working on place, like those videos that I sent on back ties. That's one where the duration will be longer. But you are not going to be constantly interacting, right? You're going to be watching TV, reading a book, eating dinner. So that's the only exception. Otherwise, you want to keep it short. You want to take advantage of moments throughout your day. Like the downstay. You could be sitting out on the front porch somewhere, or you could be running errands, and you take Boone with you. You pull Boone out of the car and you're out somewhere. Go to the sidewalk in front of a store, downstay, stand on that leash. Or if you're in a place like Lowe's or PetSmart, take a seat somewhere, downstay. Or maybe you maybe you're gonna sit down and eat dinner. Create a boundary and back him up, and don't let him come past that boundary, and just tell him leave it. So he understands he has to leave it and stay far back. There are a million different ways that you can just work things into your day. 2 minutes here, 3 minutes there, 5 minutes from time to time, maybe a 10-minute. Just use it. Just use it and make it fun. So short bursts. Cover as many as you can in a day, but in short bursts. Number 2, have a sense of humor. If you're not feeling it, don't do it. Set yourself and being up for success. If you are having a tough day, or you're exhausted, or you feel like Bean's not on his game, or obviously if he doesn't feel well or he's really tired, don't push it. Tired puppies are as bad or worse than tired toddlers. So you want for both you and Bean to be in a good space. And you can't take it seriously. This is not about, why is this dog not complying? Why is this dog being stubborn? Why is this dog this, that, and the other? If Bean is not doing what we're asking him to do, then we need to figure out what is it he needs to get on the game. An easy example is with me, apparently not with you, but with me, when I've been telling him down recently, he acts like he's never heard the word, even though he was doing it like a champ 3 days ago. Acts like he just has no idea what I'm saying. So in that case, I pull out the leash. I use the leash, and when I say down, I step on the leash and I create pressure on the back of his neck. Because he needs the extra help right now. Why does he need it? I don't know. I just know that it's my job to figure out what's going to help him get where we're trying to go. So I always say to people, especially when you have a young puppy, every time you're getting ready to practice something, have a leash handy. It is not cheating. Just use whatever you need to use to help him. Because ultimately what you want to do is create habits. So you don't want to be saying things and having him look around like he's never heard the word. If you say down, on the second time he needs to go. If that means you use a leash, then use a leash. Create habits. You got to create pathways in his brain that when he hears what he hears, he complies. His body complies. Body complies. So skip it if you're not in the mood. Appreciate how funny he is. He is so smart, he can learn anything. And the flip side of that is that he is so smart that everything gets his attention. That's a challenge for us as humans. How do we get his attention in a productive way? None of the things that I'm doing with him are punitive. I do not find punishment to be useful as a teaching tool. But there are times when I, like with the leash, will show him what I want. But it's not with pops. It's not with reprimand, right? Everything's about instruction. Everything's about direction. So whatever kind of direction he needs from one day to the next, that's what we want to give him, okay? So the rest of this video is going to be segmented into each of the commands to give you some tips and let you see some of the things that I do. And of course, I'll always be available by phone. And we can do follow-ups if you need them. A lot of people with young pups will call when the puppies get to be about a year or so and hit the teen years because they become a different dog. But until then, you can hit me up anytime for any kind of coaching or suggestions or anything like that. There's no cost. So, okay, here come the different individual segments.